Great, we are recording now. Let me move these controls away. And let's get started. It's 11:01. So great. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining EliteCISO's weekly webinar that we conduct every Thursday, 11 o'clock India time. As you see, the topic for today is cyber risk maturity, a byte by byte approach. To present this topic, we have Sam and Brijesh from Archer. I'll invite Sam and Brijesh both to share a quick introduction. So over to you, Sam.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Vikas, and thank you to the EliteCISO group for having us again. This is actually my third time presenting with the group. I'm very excited about the session today. Wonderful forum to be a part of. But as a quick introduction, Sam O'Brien, I'm Vice President for Archer Integrated Risk Management in Asia Pacific, based in Sydney, but spend a lot of time traveling around the region when we are able to travel. So looking forward to my next trip to India.
Great, sounds good.
Hey everyone, my name is Brijesh. So this is my first time, especially from my EliteCISO perspective. So very excited to have this session and having interaction with everybody. I look after India market from technical and risk specialist perspective. So hoping to interact with you after the session as well.
Great, sounds good. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Brijesh. So Sam and Brijesh are going to be main speakers. So 11:05 to 11:50, ball will be in their court. They will be bouncing to each other and they will present this very interesting topic. And at the end, we will save about 10 minutes for Q&A, participation certificate, Wheel of Fortune. And Wheel of Fortune giveaway this time is a smart fitness watch. We have been giving away Amazon Alexa from past couple of years now. And we checked in our groups, are you guys bored with Amazon Alexa? Do you want something else? So we got multiple options. And one of that option was fitness watch. So this looks like Apple iWatch, though it is not Apple iWatch. This is a different one. So at the end, we will do our Wheel of Fortune and one lucky winner will get this smart watch. We will open registration for next week. And as you heard, we are recording this session. So recording as well as slides will be available on EliteCISO's website. Okay, guys, this is the traditional opening that we do. And you have been attending our sessions. I see a lot of familiar faces, familiar names. So as you know, next what is going to come is our traditional stand and attend challenge. And this challenge we give in every single webinar that we do. Sam is very well aware of this challenge because this is the third time he's on EliteCISO's platform and presenting. So he's standing already, right, Sam?
Yes, sir. I am standing for sure. I had to rearrange my desk and everything, but I'm standing.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great that you accepted this challenge. So guys, as I show this slide every single week, that if you sit a lot, you are going to get a lot of problems like foggy brain, disk damage, weak abs, you will lose less calories and all. But this movement that we are doing, that you must stand and you should not be sitting the whole day, right? I want to spend 2 more minutes walking you guys through a video. I try to, not sound monotonous every week showing the same slides. So there's a quick video for you guys for 2 minutes talking about why sitting is killing, why it is not good for us. So let's go through this video. If you do not hear the sound, let me know, because when I shared the Zoom, I did not click on the share audio option. So let me know if you hear it or not. I'm playing it now.
Studies have shown that how well
No?
you do on this test is a powerful predictor of late health.
Okay, guys, so I'm going to stop it and reshare my screen. So PowerPoint, share sound, and now share. Great, guys. Now you know why standing is important, right? So take this challenge, type yes that you are accepting this challenge of standing while attending this session. Go to the chat window. If you stand, you will get all these benefits, less pain in your body. You will feel better about yourself. You will have a better spinal posture and you will think sharper. So I see a lot of people are saying yes. So thanks a lot for accepting the challenge. We are 161 people right now, and I think half of them have accepted this challenge. So great. Thanks a lot, guys. What next is coming is the quiz. Because you are standing, you are thinking sharper. So here comes the quiz. This is a 30-second quiz, right? It's a fastest finger first. If you know the answer, put it in the chat as quickly as possible. So here comes the first question. How many steps are there in a NIST risk management framework? So NIST risk management framework is very well-known framework. There's a defined process. I want to know the numerical value. How many steps are there in the NIST risk management framework? I see a lot of people are typing the answer, and the correct answer is 7. Okay, there are 7 steps, which is prepare, categorize, select, implement, assess, authorize, and monitor. These 7 steps are there in the risk management framework. It's a very well documented standard and framework, which also talks about the controls that can be implemented. It refers to that standard as well. Okay, great. I see a lot of answers coming in. So we will go through the chat and see who typed the first answer, right? First correct answer. Okay, guys, get ready. Second question. Second question is a little bit tricky. Okay, so let's see who gets the right answer. For ISO 31000, what is the recertification cycle? If you get certified with ISO 31000, like for ISO, you have to go every year for your surveillance audit, and then after 3 years you get the recertification. For ISO 31000, what is the timeline? So people are saying 3, 5, 1, 5 years. Okay, 5, 3. No timeline. I see no timeline. Somebody typing. So yes, for ISO 31000, there is no timeline. This is not a certifiable standard. You cannot have a certifying body certifying you on the ISO 31000, like 27001 and 22301 for BCP. You can get certified. So that was the trick. Okay, guys, we will go through the quiz, the answers, and put it here in terms of who won. 11:06, perfect timing. I said 5 minutes I will take for the introduction. With this, over to you, Sam and Brajesh.
Thank you so much, Vikas. If you just stop sharing the screen, I'll share onto mine and we'll kick things off.
Yep.
All right, and a quick audio test. Hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear.
Yep, sounds good.
Wonderful. Well, guys, thank you very much for the invite to come back and be part of the session today. As I said before, always love being a part of this group. Always great energy, enthusiasm, and I love the quiz and the physical activity along the way. Vikas challenged me to actually do this session standing. It is actually my first presentation standing for about 18 months since I was last able to travel on site to a conference. So it's a new experience. It actually feels much better, I got to say, than sitting. So I'm gonna take this forward, Vikas. So thank you for giving me that challenge. So guys, like I said, we're really happy and really proud to be a part of the event today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Brajesh and I are going to take you through some ideas, hopefully to help you think about how you can drive your cyber risk program through different levels of maturity. We're not aspiring to align with any particular frameworks here, really just sharing some general ideas and insights on how you can take some meaningful steps forward towards a more mature cyber risk program in a bite by bite or step by step way. So with that, we will kick into the presentation. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them as we go through the session just via the chat or the Q&A function, and we'll be sure to answer along the way. Now, as we go through the session today, I'm going to be sharing some insights from a very recent report that my organization, Archer, Integrated Risk Management, that we provided to our customers, and is in fact available online. So it's the State of Integrated Risk Management, and it's based off some data gathering that we did across our customers, looking at key capabilities in their governance, risk and compliance and integrated risk management programs. And we've shared some thoughts in that particular report. It is available online if you just jump onto that URL down below, or just search Google for State of Integrated Risk Management. You'll be able to find it. So several key themes that we really want to explore as part of the session today. And we also want to share, I guess, some of those common steps or that bite by bite approach to lifting your own cybersecurity risk program. And before we do that, I want to start with why. That's what I commonly do with my presentation. So to our topic today of cyber risk maturity, well, why does the maturity of your cyber risk program actually manage? As I mentioned, this is our third time presenting at the EliteCISO Forum. During the last presentation, I'm not sure if you guys remember what I presented on, but it was on the topic of operational resilience. And during the session, I actually made a comment that given the rise of digital and the incredible acceleration of digital channels, primarily due to the pandemic, that cyber needs to be viewed as both an enabler and a threat in the modern world, right? So it's an enabler, but it's also a threat. whether it's enabling us to reach our customers, continue to work, deliver goods and services to homes, none of this would be possible today without the infrastructure, the capabilities, without the relationships we have with our third parties to actually keep the lights on, keep things running, keep people connected. So I think, a fairly good indicator for an organization these days is, an organization's strength being in digital and cyber capabilities, pretty good indicator of their viability, the more mature that they are. But with that maturity in digital adoption and digital capabilities needs to come a matching maturity in cyber risk management. So with that increased footprint, there really needs to be more done to ensure that operations remain secure and don't succumb to digital threats as well. So as part of the study that I mentioned before, the state of integrated risk management, we asked a key question. So to what extent has your organization engaged in digital transformation initiatives over the past 2 years? Probably not surprising for this group, but very few said, in fact, only 2% said we have not engaged. So I don't know a lot of organizations that aren't quickly moving through their digital transformation journey and keeping engagement going with their risk professionals in their organization along the way. Right, next group. So 13% said we're beginning to engage. Okay, better late than never, getting on with it, that's good. We start getting into the majority where 31% are somewhat engaged. And of course, I'm sure most of you would be in this particular bucket here that 54% said we are extensively engaged. And I'm sure for many people at our session today, you're all deeply involved, not only in protecting your organization, but now coming from a position of maybe being a gatekeeper, actually into being a guide, right? Someone who can help instruct and guide the organization on how they can embark on these new digital endeavors in safe and secure ways. But as you embark on those endeavors, I think there's a few operating norms that we have to take notice of for the world that we operate in right now. So the first operating norm I want to share with you guys today is that traditional business and digital business are now fundamentally intertwined. Going back maybe 5-10 years ago, a lot of historical physically based organizations or dominantly physically based organizations could be running their digital activities in parallel, but we're at a point now where they're truly intertwined. And it leads me to a bit of a hypothesis. And that hypothesis is that cyber risks are in fact not created by technology, they're created by business, right? We don't just adopt digital tools and techniques and capabilities because it's a good idea. We do it to fuel the business, to drive the business forward. So as I mentioned, digital business and traditional business are now inherently linked together. No longer an emerging trend, but in fact, the status quo, and the pandemic has really cemented this. I think about, the very latest kind of stage of the pandemic here in Australia, and one thing that's become, I think, a really good highlighting point of this interlinkage, this, intertwinedness. A lot of physical stores that were able to stay open during the first lockdown have been forced to close in the second lockdown, with a small exception. They're now able to do click and collect, right? So you can prepare your order online, park in the parking lot. When you get there, press a button on your phone and someone will bring out a trolley with your goods, from the supermarket, the hardware store, that type of thing, right? So that's an example of where a digital technique, online shopping, has now helped enable a very historical way of buying goods and services, going into a store, right? And if that wasn't there, I've got no idea how some of these stores would actually continue doing business. So those strategies there are totally intertwined. Now, the fundamental thing that organizations are actually undertaking at the moment in order to drive their performance forward and to execute on their business strategies now happens to also be the things that actually create cyber risk. So, ironically, the more of these strategies you underpin with digital capabilities, the more exposed your footprint is, the more potential areas of attack, and really just the more you need to be considering your cyber risk. So again, cyber risks are not created by technology, they're created by the business. So really to be successful in today's market, you've got to be addressing cyber risk and business risk together, right? They go hand in hand. They can't be looked at independently anymore. Another stat that came out of the research that we did, 79% of respondents said that they expect to rely more heavily on IT and security risk management portions of their risk programs over the next 2 years. So it's accelerating. The focus on IT and security risk management within the broader integrated risk or enterprise risk landscape is coming up. Now, why? Cyber's always been important, but it's become even more important because of this continued fueling of digital strategies. And I want to sort of use this to hopefully illustrate, why a more complete picture of your technology risk is really needed and why some basic steps in maturity need to be considered. So that was operating norm number one, the interconnectedness, the intertwinedness of business and digital risk. Next, operating norm number two, sometimes black swans fly in formation. For those who ever taken part in a large enterprise scale risk assessment, you may be familiar with the term black swan, but when we're talking about a black swan, we're usually talking about a high impact, low likelihood event, kind of like the rainy day risk scenarios. But I think looking at 2020 and now, of course, 2021, I think it's pretty obvious that sometimes those multiple, high impact yet low priority events can all happen in around about the same time frame. So, coming from my experience living in Australia, not being able to travel over the last 18 months, we came out of, once in a century bushfires. We have, of course, the backdrop of the COVID pandemic and the ongoing challenges that is presenting to many. We've also had lots of micro challenges that have created mega impacts. So, for example, a boat, getting stuck in a canal, shutting down global shipping. I mean, come on. It just shows how interconnected everything is, and that had major knock-on effects. Trying to, get parts to suppliers to go and produce goods. So that had ramifications all around the world. So there's a lot of bad news out there, but it's interesting that all this bad news is happening at the same time as quite a lot of well, what you could say would be good news as well. Look at the financial markets, right? So financial markets are going crazy over the last 12 months. So it's clear here that the amount of risk events are increasing, but the opportunity that's out there for businesses to grow and expand, not just their market capitalizations, the profitability, their reach, right? That ability to grow and expand is there. So we need to be aware of the risks that we're entering into. We need to consider them so that we can take advantage of that opportunity. Another stat here from the State of Integrated Risk Management study, 75% of respondents stated that their organization's risk profile will expand somewhat or significantly over the next 2 years. So when we talk about an expansion of risk profile, we talk about the types of risks that we're considering, or even maybe expanding our appetite to take on more and new risks. So on to operating norm number 3. Cyber risk is multidimensional and multi-layered. So what do I mean by cyber risk being multidimensional and multi-layered? Well, let's start with two-dimensional. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the concept of internal cyber risks, right? So perhaps a malicious insider, for example, but there's also external factors, maybe your power company, for example. You then have to cross-reference some of those things with intent. You have malicious intent or a complete lack of intent, something being unintentional. Right, start overlaying these things and you start getting different quadrants of risk to consider within your cyber program. So top left, something that's internal and malicious, so a deliberate act of sabotage, theft, or malfeasance committed by an employee or insider, versus on the other side, something that is internal but unintentional. So maybe a server having a hardware fault, for example, or human error, for example. You then have your external factors. So external malicious, this might be an activist, an act of terror, perhaps a premeditated attack or a nation state attack of some kind, or external unintentional, maybe a tree falls over and hits a power line, for example. But there's different elements of risk that we need to consider, and there's different drivers, different actors, different methods, and then of course for us as risk professionals, different controls and different defenses that we need to consider. So from my perspective, given that cyber risk is layered and multidimensional, well, our defenses need to be layered and multidimensional as well. And there are a couple of key recommendations in the State of Integrated Risk Management report that I wanted to call out because they're really relevant to today's conversation about progressing through steps of maturity in cyber risk. So one, We as Archer and RSA Business recommended that organizations compile a complete picture of technology and security related risks, and they understand their financial impacts. All right, so this is asset profiling for those that have been through ISO 27001, for example. Second recommendation that I'm pulling out here, we recommend organizations prepare for and orchestrate coordinated security, IT, and business response to the attacks to stop the threat and minimize business impact. So there's a few things there. We need to take a policy-driven approach. We need to work in a coordinated way. We need to work across the business. And we also need to be able to respond when things go wrong. The final recommendation and item that was highlighted there is that quantification in today's day and age is the most effective way to calculate and consider risks. So qualitative risks usually measure risks one by one instead of in aggregate, where you can, qualitative risks usually consider risks one by one instead of in aggregate, which comes at the risk of missing the bigger picture. Now, I know for many organizations that quantification in information security risk is something they may have explored and had a bit of a think about, maybe seen as being too difficult, too complicated. Well, we want to share with you today as we go through our presentation some ideas on how you can actually kickstart that journey, and also share with you some announcements that we have as a company, as Archer, a provider of technology in the integrated risk space, to actually help make it easier to get on with the process of quantifying risk. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the benefits that can unlock along the way. All right, so I want to move into the next phase of our session. I want to talk not so much about the landscape. I want to talk a little bit about how we actually can drive some improvements and how we can actually take some of those steps forward in maturity. So coming back to our quadrant that I had up before. So think about this as your risk landscape, or your threat landscape, probably more adequately named. Well, as risk managers and as information security professionals, our job is to control in some way down to an acceptable level those risks. So how do we do this? Well, I recommend taking a layered approach. One, starting by knowing your assets, right? So what servers do what? Where's your sensitive information? Where's it located? Who's responsible for it, right? So having a good understanding of what you are trying to protect and why. That's something that's a very broad-based control that applies, across your threat landscape. Next is to layer on compliance and risk management practices, right? So you know what your assets are. Now think about, well, how do we need to protect them? What policies do we need to have in place? What is the right level of risk that we need to get to? As we onboard new assets, well, what risk is inherent in those? Is one asset more sensitive than another, and therefore it has more compliance requirements or more controls needed? But we layer that on and we get a more focused level of control coming into the picture. But for most organizations, just having a compliance and risk program, they've moved well beyond that. They've now got an active cyber defense program, or even in some cases, a cyber offense program, where they're bringing in monitoring, detection, and response capabilities. So they've identified their assets, they've put in place baseline controls. Next, they're thinking, all right, well, we've got our risks down to an acceptable level, but things still go wrong. We need to monitor for those events. We need to pick up on those alerts. We need to try and find those anomalies. And when we do, we need to triage and respond. A lot of organizations have gotten to this third level, but the last level I want to talk about today is cyber risk quantification, which is a next step where you can actually start to have a very business-oriented conversation about the risks that you're trying to defend against. So we're not talking about high, medium, and lows, right? That's an important part of the risk equation, obviously, but it makes it hard to compare apples and apples because the apples are actually oranges. How do you actually go and compare something like a data breach event with the cost of not rolling out a new ERP? Or how do you compare something like an IT server outage with the missed opportunity cost of not opening it up into a new market, right? They're totally different conversations, and you can probably have those risk discussions within your own organization as a CISO or as a security manager. But when you're going up to the board and you're trying to put forward a case on why this particular investment is needed, by being able to put it in dollars and cents, or I should say rupees, you're able to have a far more business-oriented conversation because money is the language of business, And that is the basis of most investment decisions. Now, like I said before, some organizations have started exploring risk quantification and just seen it as being too difficult, too complex. But like I said, we're in the process of releasing to our customers some really exciting new capabilities in this area, which we'll talk about. Now, it's not just about layering things on 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're good to go, right? Maturity takes time, it takes effort, it takes evolution, refinement, and growth. So we see these areas as areas you can ease into over time. And we provide, as a technology provider in this space, through our solution, Archer Integrated Risk Management, modules aligned to these steps. So if you want to get a catalog going of your assets, well, we have ways of maintaining your asset registers, looking at the interlinkages between them. If you want to then progress up to a program to run a baseline compliance program, get your risk assessments going, we have modules for that, and so on and so forth through these steps. So while you can take more of a pen and paper-based approach to moving between these steps, I also wanted to share that there is technology available that can help you move from step 1 to 2, or even take an accelerated step all the way up to step 4. And but before we get into that, and before we show you some of those capabilities, I just want to go through some of these areas in a little bit more detail. So when it comes to knowing your assets, some of the things that are really important, you know, from an asset perspective, what's its role, what's its location, who owns it, who's responsible for it, who administers it, but also really important from a security perspective, what's its criticality? Now, a lot of organizations I know from their ISO 27001 endeavors are used to the CIA style of assessment, which is fine, but more and more we're seeing it being an important element to be able to derive some sort of financial valuation. And it could even be a financial valuation in terms of C, I, and A, but a financial valuation nonetheless, which is going to fuel some of that quantification later on. Once you've got your assets in place, it's about layering on your compliance and risk activities. So what policies, what controls, being able to go through and do your assurance activities, gathering evidence, or maybe keeping track of exceptions. When it comes to risk identification, going through risk assessments, maintaining your risk registers, and then putting in place additional controls to eliminate additional risk. We also need to then move beyond that to monitoring, detection, and response. So picking up on those anomalies and alerts, managing vulnerabilities and hygiene, triaging and responding to issues, and keeping track of any open issues and exceptions. The final element, as I said, in that sort of staircase of maturity is the cyber risk quantification piece. So when it comes to cyber risk quantification, you know, we are seeing that FAIR in particular seems to be the de facto standard. It is a standard that we support with our solution, and one that we believe can provide some great returns for organizations in being able to have that true apples to apples conversation with their executive teams, with their board, about which security investments are needed. And it's not just about going through a Q&A process. There's a lot of smarts within this space that can help when it comes to quantifying and deriving true INR value measurements, that being around running modeling, running simulations, working on bow tie analysis to really truly unpack the composition of risks and try and understand what your financial exposure is, and therefore whether you accept a risk or maybe look at investing in something like cyber risk insurance as a mitigation. One of the other things that we highlighted in our State of Integrated Risk Management report, and this comes back to the comment I made earlier, where some organizations have looked at quantification and found it to be too complex, but we do believe that with the right technology, risk quantification actually becomes more accessible. It is more readily available, and it can be arrived at as an outcome in much less time and with much less complexity. We've actually launched a new offering in this space called Archer Insight. We'll share a tiny bit on that today, but maybe that's a topic for our 4th session if Vikas will kindly invite us back. So how do we move forward from here? Well, I actually want to share, stop sharing my screen. I'm actually going to invite Bhajesh to take over and talk about how some of these capabilities, some of these ideas that we've shared here about different levels of risk maturity, how they come to life. And Bhajesh is actually going to show us the solution I mentioned before, Archer Integrated Risk Management. Just as he loads up, Archer is a solution that's been used for more than 20 years around the world. We offer deployment both on-premise and in the cloud, and we provide our solution on a modular basis. So maybe you are just at that level 1 maturity. Well, we have a module that deals to that. But maybe you're looking to get straight into risk quantification. Well, we have modules available for that as well. So Bajesh, before I steal any more of your thunder, over to you, mate.
Thank you, Sam. To begin with, Archer as a platform, as Sam mentioned, has a lot of capabilities. We might not be able to go a deep down session in today's session, but I'll try to cover from a CISO perspective that what CISOs can achieve in case they implement GRC automation in the right fashion.
Hey, Brajesh,
So,
your audio is not very good. I think it's still taking computer audio, not your microphone. Maybe try to readjust.
okay, is it fine now?
Little better. Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Now we'll.
Okay, great. Thank you. One of the Vikas, is it an issue with the audio still?
Oh, go ahead, please.
Sounds good now,
Okay.
Bajesh. You're good, mate. You sound great.
Great. So let me recap one of the slides which Sam presented talking about 4 quadrants of cyber risk. So as Sam mentioned, it's a journey. So first step in that journey was know your assets. Second step in that journey was knowing compliance and risk, doing these activities, automating these activities. Third step in this journey was monitoring, detecting, or responding to the risk. And last journey in this risk maturity was risk quantification. So while we are going in the next phase of the demo, we'll try to show you all these aspects, how you can move forward in all these areas. First, we'll start with compliance and risk, then we'll move into monitoring, then we'll move into risk quantification. So the view I'm going to present you today is a CISO view. How CISO will get to see once all these things are automated, once all these things are there in the system, what will CISO get to know and how they can interpret all this information. So what you're seeing on my screen is one of the sample dashboards that we have created for the CISO. So as an CISO, the first and foremost thing for a CISO is, are we compliant to the regulations? Because that's the most critical risk an organization can have. To assess that, a CISO might have to comply with certain regulations. CISO might have to comply with certain industry standard. So as an Archer platform, we provide capability wherein you get to see how much you're compliant to a particular regulation, particular standard, and particular industry regulation as well. So we cover all aspects of it. So if you see on my screen, we have on the topmost, we have ISO 27000 standard available. So I can see that how much non-compliance I am to a particular standard. So this is the one way of seeing at an overall organization level. We can do a drill down as well if we want to see at a particular business unit level, particular division level, or a particular asset level also. I can see all these details also. And we just don't stop at ISO. We can cover NIST, we can cover PCI DSS, RBI, and other lot of standards as well. And if we're talking about PCI, that's the most critical these days from RBI perspective. RBI has been pushing companies into
Bajesh, you still there?
We lost Brajesh. For a
Yeah,
moment,
just
I
hold
was
on,
thinking, is it me or it is?
All right, just hold on a second. Let me ping him.
Sure. Yeah, so meanwhile, let me post the winners of the quiz. We wanted to delay till the end because otherwise people start to congratulate, and the feedback we got that it takes away the attention. But since we are waiting for Brajesh, let me put it on the chat. So Mr. Prakash is the winner of the first quiz. For the second one, Mr. Ramesh. So guys, please ping me on WhatsApp. I'm putting my number as well. 9999 477.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm audible now.
Yeah,
Sorry, there was a connection. Okay, great. So I'll start a bit. I think you guys missed me in a bit. So I was talking about PCI and RBI. So RBI has recently
That's where we lost you,
issued a
Bajesh. Yep.
Thank you, Sam. I'm audible now, right?
Yeah, you want to share your screen as well?
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know I was not sharing my screen.
Great. Now you are visible, you are audible, and your screen is also visible. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the things I was talking about is from PCI perspective. RBI is really going in from securing the card information, from securing the cyber infrastructure. So one of the guidelines that RBI has come up with is from 1st of January 2022, you will not be able to store card information on your servers. You will not be able to do recurring payments. That cannot happen. So the PCI standard is also evolving. The RBI guidelines are also evolving. It's not just these, but there are other standards are also evolving. India is now moving towards a privacy centric space. So compliance becomes a really focus point for everybody. And we provide a solution to address all those areas wherein you get to see compliance, not just from a standard perspective, from other regulations perspective as well. And every regulation has their own milestones.
I think we lost Brajesh again. Sam, you want to run the session if possible instead of Brajesh?
Yeah, sure, Vikas. I'm just asking him to send me the file so that we can move through it. And just see if he comes back online.
Yeah, Vipul, seems to be internet issue, but let's see.
Yeah. Must be a delivery.
Maybe we can take Q&A. So we are already at 11:40 mark. 40 minutes have already been done. Maybe 10 minutes session is kind of left. But let's see. We can see the screen again popping up for Brajesh, and he might.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, everyone.
No,
today my broadband is.
It happens.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of used to it. Go ahead, please.
Great, thank you, Vikas. So I was talking about ITDR. So ITDR becomes really critical for an CISO. So they would want to understand in terms of impact, where the impact is, in which particular asset really has that kind of impact. Also from a gap analysis perspective, that's one of the critical things. If your process says I need to recover within 24 hours, but your asset is not able to recover within 24 hours, that's a gap. And how can you see those gaps? That's where our technology can help you address those gaps to understand if there is a gap in that particular impact analysis, business continuity plan, or maybe a recovery strategies. It gives a platform wherein you can see everything in one place. And in case we want to invoke a crisis, you will be able to do that as well. Another key aspect of the second line of maturity is knowing what the risks are to your overall organization from maybe IT perspective, from financial perspective also, and knowing what could be your tolerance limit. And in Archer, you will be able to document all those risks. And as CISO, you get to see that what are the risks which are going above the threshold as well. So if you see on my screen, we can see that this is the threshold I want to achieve, whatever the risk may be. And there are certain risks which are going above and that. There are certain risks which are just touching that. So if you talk about data privacy, we are still just within the tolerance limit, but there are two risks which are really need to focus on: external data failures and inappropriate data access. So we need to really focus on that. So Archer will provide you a platform where you can mitigate all those risks from a qualitative perspective, from a quantitative perspective, which we'll talk about soon. The next phase of risk maturity journey is to making sure that you are monitoring. You are making sure that your company is always on the top of the risks, the threats that you're facing in the organization. And that's where we have another offering in this place wherein you can monitor your own enterprise as well and third parties as well. And we provide a rating in terms of where your organization stand in terms of 1 to 10 in different domains, such as data loss is one domain, DNS is another domain, email is another domain. So there are different domains. We provide a rating, not just rating, we also give you useful information in terms of what are the threats there, what are the vulnerabilities there, so that you can take proactive action. And this dashboard gives a CISO a single line of view that what's really happening to their landscape and where they are, what are the threats that they are facing. And if you move on, and CISOs also get to see in a single dashboard, in a single view, that what really happening in the organization, is there any exception which was supposed to expire? Has it expired? Somebody has revoked the access. So let's say I gave admin access to somebody. I was supposed to revoke it, but if I don't get any reminder, how will I do that? That's another proactive measure that these tools, the integrated risk management tools, can offer. What are the risks that are there without any particular control? What are the vulnerabilities which are impacting me? What are the data breaches which are currently going on and my team is really working on it? What are the critical findings? These findings can come from internal auditors, or maybe some assessments that I've done, or maybe external auditors. So I get to see everything in a single view and a single pane. That really makes a life easier a little bit for a CISO. And if I want to see in terms of what are the threats, what are the advisories that are ongoing in the landscape, or maybe some advisory has been issued by certain authorities, where I can see that rather than going into different platform, Archer can show you all those threat summaries, all those abstracts in a single view. We can pull those information, we can show this to you that this is your morning coffee and this is what you need to work on. To go into a little bit more, we also provide analysis in terms of what are the incidents there in terms of same.
I think that's a third strike, unfortunately. But I think just to bring it home, Bajesh was really talking about how the analyst here, or even the CISO, can actually bring in different metrics from different sources, whether it's bringing data in perhaps from a Siem platform or maybe from a vulnerability scanner, to actually provide that rolled up view on where some of the threats are occurring. And I did see a question pop up on the chat around how do we source some of that data. So we do have connectors for a lot of the major providers in this space. They're available through what we call the Archer Exchange. It's a website online that you can see what is available there. And that threat data can be brought in to provide that kind of rolled up and aggregated view there. Now, Vikas, I know that we've just had a third strike there, so maybe we should move to the Q&A for the session,
Let's do that,
in the event that Bajesh does rejoin.
Yeah, we have 15 minutes. I think let's do that. So guys, go ahead, raise your hand, and we will unmute you, and you can ask a question live. So Ashok sir going first. Very nice. So I'm going to unmute you, Ashok sir. Nupur, you are unmuted. So Ashok sir, go ahead. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Vikas. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Ashok. How are you?
Fine. I'm doing fine. Just wanted to ask you, just now Brajesh covered that on a single dashboard, you will get all information, various advisories. Now, from what all platform you are sharing the aid?
Sorry, where the data is coming from that we're representing?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So look, a combination of things, Ashok. First of all, it could be data that you maybe have in another system internally, like your vulnerability scanner, like your Siem platform, for example. It could be data that's been collected maybe through a ticketing solution from an incident that got reported as an IT problem, but maybe got clarified as a security issue during its investigation. It could be from something externally. So maybe there's a threat intelligence source, or maybe there is a data provider that you subscribe to externally. Maybe it's around your vendor security scores. Maybe it's about some of your preferred cyber threat, or even political or physical security threat data. There's a variety of sources there, and we do have a lot of connectors available that can accelerate that. Or if not, we can usually create a connector as well.
All right.
Thanks, Ashok.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem.
Thank you. Nupur, go ahead, ask your question.
Hi, Vikas. Thank you so much. Hi, Sam.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. I'm fine. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
So my question is something around like just now you have just explained that we have connected to feed the threads externally. So that was my question. Can you feed the thread like on dark web or dark net and map those to the current data and so the risk score and all? So
sure.
Yeah,
correct. We actually have a module. I mentioned that sort of modular approach that we take. So one of the modules is called IT Security Vulnerabilities Program, and there's a threat management capability within there. So perhaps we can have a follow-up discussion with you on how that works. But one of the use cases there is not just bringing in your IT vulnerability data, but also bringing in some threat metrics, threat scoring to map back into your assets as well, to give you some insights on how you might be exposed to an emerging threat even before it's been detected in your environment.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks, Nupur. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Nupur. Mr. Prakash Ranjan, you are next. Go ahead, ask your question.
Yeah, hi Vikas, Sam and Brijesh. So, I have been the user of Archer. So my question is, how is the custom regulations or policies can be created by the user? Also, does it have integration with other SIEM solutions as well, apart from RSA Net Witness?
Sure. Thank you for that question. So there's a few options there. So we do have a standard policy and regulation library, but you can add in your own. Some of our customers might just key in their policies on screen. Others prefer to maybe upload them in bulk via like a spreadsheet or something. We also have content providers that we work with that do provide some additional content beyond the 100 or so regulations that we have. But we can go through some of that process with you offline if you like, Prakash, on how you can do that in your current Archer deployment. Thank you.
And just to add to this, we also have integration with other SIEM. Net Witness is definitely one. We have integration with Splunk and others as well. So in case we also provide integration with source systems as well. So that's what if you're looking for.
Great.
Can I ask one question, please, if you don't mind?
No, Nupur. Others in the queue. Maybe at the end, if we have more time, then you can go ahead next time. So next is Mr. Surendra Sharma in the queue. Surendra sir, please go ahead, ask your question.
Hi, good morning, Vikas. Good morning, Sam and Brijesh. My question actually relates to the capability of configurability of your various threat scenarios. Right? Every threat scenario will be different in different business contexts. So what is the configurability of various threat scenarios? Do we plug in the values of residual threats, likelihood and impact, or do we have a flexibility to create scenarios?
Thank you. I guess just to give the simple version of that answer, maybe Bajesh can back me up with some additional detail. But a lot of the time, those risk scenarios are coming from the users, where we are looking at simplistic things like likelihood and impact on perhaps a rating scale. But we have actually just announced as part of the Archer Insight capability, the ability to do bow tie risk modeling. So actually breaking out different causal factors, different controls, both preventative, detective, which really allows you to get very, very granular on the risk scenarios themselves. So, we'd be happy to maybe showcase that as a follow-up for you as well.
Great, perfect.
Yeah, so
go ahead, please, Brijesh.
Yeah, as Sam mentioned, so we are bringing Archer Insight, so that will cover bow tie as well, but we are also bringing other methodologies such as model risk, Monte Carlo fair. So using all those methodology, we will be able to create certain scenarios, and based on those scenarios, we will be able to come up with threat values and risk values as well.
Perfect. Thanks. Mr. Manoj Dala, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
What solution can be deployed for cyber crisis management?
So the question there was around cyber crisis management, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what he asked. What solution do you have for cyber crisis management?
Sure. So we do have a module, again, taking that modular approach called Archer Security Incident and Breach Response. Basically, a few things there. So one is that sort of triage and response to security incidents. Maybe they're the walk-ins or the ticket integration based, or even pulling data out of a Siem based on certain alert criteria. Those will then go through a response process. But moreover, if you do escalate into a breach scenario, we provide workflows and assessment templates for dealing with breach impacts. Some of our customers also use the solution to capture things like pre-approved media responses or customer announcements based on different types of impact scenarios. So there's quite a few capabilities in there. But yeah, cyber incident and breach response is the name of that module.
Cool. Mr. George, you are next. Mr. George Joseph. Okay.
Sorry, I was on mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Right. Thanks, Vikas. Thanks, Sam, for walking us through the Archer insight. And I was very particularly interested in the fair modeling and quantification. Hope we might get another session on that. But what I wanted to ask is that, do you have any success stories of where we quantified a risk and be able to successfully, face any threats?
Sure. So we have just brought this capability to market, Archer Insight. So it is very new territory, but we would be happy to perhaps reach out to the leader of that particular initiative, because he has vast experience in that space, and the technology that we're bringing to bear has been used to, I think, in excess of many thousand organizations already. So let us maybe come back to you directly on that one, if that's okay. And I would love to dig into Archer Insight a little bit more. This was really just a bit of a preview for that capability. We didn't get into it specifically, but I think that would warrant its own session at some point if we're able to come back.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gokul, you are next. Please go ahead, ask your question.
Thanks, Vikas, and it was a wonderful question. So I have a simple question, like we have a risk score, and then we have certain actions taken on risks. It could be mitigation, or it could be acceptance, or it could be insurance, whatever it is. So is there a revised risk score to see whether, basically to evaluate the aspects of all the mitigations and other actions that we have taken is working fine? So is there a dashboard like that?
Yeah, there absolutely is. And you can take very simple approaches to that, or very detailed approaches to that. On a simplistic level, looking at things like your control effectiveness and using that to produce indicators on whether a risk has a good collection of controls that are also in a good state. It can provide a very simple indicator, thumbs up, thumbs down for the control status of that particular risk. There are also much more sophisticated ways to do that, such as through things like the bow tie analysis, where you can look, at control effectiveness across your preventive measures versus your detective and responsive measures to give you that really, really specific view if you want to get that detailed. So both simple and detailed ways to address that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Sounds good. 11:55, perfect timing. Brijesh, anything specific you want to talk about? We can spare probably 1 minute if you want to talk about something specific that you missed, or we are good.
Yeah, I would like to take 1 minute to talk about Archer Insight, which we missed. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
Great.
Remember, 1 minute.
Yeah, I'll take probably 1 minute only. Okay. So as I mentioned, so we are introducing Archer Insight as one of the platform. We will be releasing this platform in upcoming months. So this particular platform is all about risk quantification. So one of the key things that we are bringing in this is that you can quantify any risk, not just cyber risk. You can quantify IT risk, ESG risk, financial risk. ESG, you will see that this topic is also hitting up. So we are also able to quantify ESG risks as well. And how we are doing that? We are adopting in the first phase, we are adopting two methodologies. One is bow tie analysis. So in the bow tie analysis, you will be able to do a visual risk analysis, and you will be able to see that what kind of control is compensating how much and what's the risk after that. And in terms of heat map, we are redoing the heat maps wherein you will be able to see that after putting controls, is actually your risk reduced, or it is increased, or it is same. So if you see here, the risk didn't change here even after putting the controls. If we have put a control, the risk has reduced a lot. And we are bringing these new technologies. We are bringing in Monte Carlo. We are bringing in model risk. We are bringing fair methodologies as well. And this all will come as a part of Archer Insight. So that's it from my side. I'll give it over to Sam to have some closing comments.
That's it. Thanks for that, Bajesh. I think it was 55 seconds. So you came in under budget, mate. Well done. I guess just from my perspective, one of the great promoters of progress is, taking steps forward and repeating those and repeating those. And it's not about just taking one big step. Lots of sustained small steps are what really encourage momentum. So regardless of where you are in your risk maturity, I'd encourage you to think about how we can potentially work together to drive your cyber risk maturity forward. So I just want to take an opportunity to say a big thank you to you all for joining. Thank you to Bhajesh, and of course, thank you, Vikas. Wonderful to work with you again on this.
Great. Sounds good. Great session, though we had a couple of glitches, but yeah, I think ultimately the message is very well delivered. Sam, how's your experience has been standing and giving this presentation? Your very first time.
I love it. I love it. The internet seems a little less stable, but I feel more energetic and more enthusiastic.
Perfect.
It's good.
Very nice.
You're right. The thought process is a bit clearer for sure.
Absolutely. Glad you loved it. And Brijesh, you got to stand next time, right? That's what the jinx was, I believe. You will stand. Okay, guys.
Definitely. I'm just ordering the desk.
Great. Okay, guys. Thanks for joining. If you want your participation certificate, which looks like this, what you got to do is go to EliteCISO's website, click on events, click on upcoming events, and you will see this page. Click on CP certificate. This will take you to a Google form, which has been automated to send you your certificate over email. So put your email address, put your full name, and the secret to download the password is chess, CHESS. Why chess? Because on today's date, right, September 2nd, 1997, IBM announced improved chess playing supercomputer. So the previous generation defeated Garry Kasparov, who was the chess grandmaster. So the previous generation defeated Garry Kasparov. After that, IBM announced an improved version, right, on September 2nd, 1997. And today, 2nd September 2021, Archer announced a new product, right? Archer Insights. That's what you talked about. Great.
Love the connection there. Thank you for that, Vikas.
Great. So we are making history over here, guys. So chess password. You got to click on CP certificate, fill the form, put chess as a password. Now, since you are over here, as you know, every week we conduct these webinars every Thursday. So next week we have a webinar with Beyond ID and Okta. It's a combined session by them, and we are going to talk about something very interesting. That is password-less authentication, right? Very, very interesting topic, because password management is itself a problem. A lot of breaches that you hear, somehow identity is kind of involved in that. Weak passwords and password management is an issue. So let's see what Beyond ID and Okta has got to talk about from a password management perspective, right? In a password-less authentication format. Okay, guys, so you can register for this. Simply click on register now and register for it. Now, the last thing that everybody is kind of waiting for is the Wheel of Fortune. And the giveaway for today's Wheel of Fortune is a smart watch, right? As you know, we promote fitness in the community. Before I spin this, I have posted a LinkedIn link as well on the chat. This is about the very informal, non-sponsored. There is no vendor, there is no partner in this. It is all about EliteCISO community. And Mr. Patrick, he will be joining us. He's a very fit individual, very fitness enthusiast. So he will talk about how to hack your fitness, right? How you can stay fit. So if you want to join this particular session, I have put the link in the chat. Click on that and register for it. And we will share the Zoom link to join. And this event is at Elite Theka. Sam, Theka means bar in Hindi, in the local language. So this is a very informal session. You will need to bring your drink, whether alcoholic or non-alcoholic. Come and join this one. I'm sure you will enjoy this session a lot. Okay, with that, let me spin this wheel, and the giveaway, as I said, is smart watch. So I'm spinning it now. Good luck, guys. Let's see who the winner is. So the first lucky winner, or the only lucky winner we are picking, is Rakesh Balakrishnan from Swiss Garnier. Mr. Rakesh Balakrishnan, if you are there, go to the chat and type yes. I don't see any yes coming from Mr. Rakesh as yet. You got to be very quick. I'm going to run it one more time. Let's see. Spinning it second time. Let's see who the winner is going to be. Sushil Nahar from Happiest Mind. Mr. Sushil, if you are there, go to the chat and type yes. I don't see Mr. Sushil Nahar, right? What was the name? Let me see. Yeah, so Mr. Sushil Nahar, I don't see him there. So I'm going to spin it one last time. If your name does not come, I will keep this, okay? Let's see. Oh, Raja, very nice. Raja was the winner last time also. What a luck, what a luck. Yeah, Raja, congratulations. You are there. Glad that you attend every session of EliteCISO. Wonderful. So ping me again. You will get this smart watch. With this, thank you everyone for joining in. Thanks, Sam.
Raja's cleaning up. Well done. good to see you all again. Please take care. Stay healthy. See you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
And I see chat blinking. Congratulations, Raja. Yeah, a lot of congratulations coming for him. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now. Get back to your work. Get back to your meetings. See you next week.